Shirkai, a remote hamlet in the hills of the Sahyadris. On the first full moon day of spring, thousands of people gather here to celebrate Bagad. Bagad, the hook-swinging ceremony, an occasion for excitement and festivity. Legend traces its history back to ancient times. Once upon a time, the village was affected by severe drought. People were desperate. The village chief was worried. One night, he dreamed of the goddess Shirkai. She asked for human sacrifice. Later, to appease the goddess, a young couple was sacrificed at her feet. Today, Bagad symbolizes that ancient sacrifice. But Shirkai is not an exception. There are millions of such myths and legends all over the world. They express our ancestors' reverence for nature, their fear of nature's forces. Many a times, ancient wisdom is hidden in these stories. As in Shirkai, in many villages, forests are protected in the name of deities. They are known as the sacred groves. Many taboos pervade these groves. For the villagers of Tetali, this spring in the grove is the only source of drinking water. People believe that the ferocious water deity does not tolerate women entering the grove. Men cannot use footwear. This myth has probably protected the cleanliness of the spring. In another village, no goat can enter the grove. If it does, it will die. That is the belief, a thoughtful way of saving the grove. The price one pays for not observing taboos is very high. The village chief of Mangao explains the common belief. This forest is dedicated to the goddess Janni. If anyone uses wood from this forest for building or some such other purpose, he invariably suffers some loss. So, no one dares to do that. Are these taboos mindless? Or are they ingenious ways of protecting forests? The answer may not be very clear. But what is crystal clear is the relationship between nature and forest deities. They are often rice grain shaped, painted with vermilion. Many a times, their names are derived either from plants or animals. The abode of these deities, the sacred groves, remain the only natural forests in many parts of the Western Ghats. These islands of greenery exhibit complex structure and diverse life forms. The sacred groves also exhibit different layers of canopy. Each layer is a splendid display of variety. Their evergreenness is indicated by the presence of caryota palms. Many more indicators of tropical forest, like huge buttress trees, survive here. A multitude of interrelationships thrive in these environs. Tall, mature trees support the growth of many epiphytic plants, like these orchids. The survival of a threatened giant climber in Tada depends on the presence of huge host trees. The close canopy of these trees provide an ideal dwelling for a rare arboreal mammal, the giant squirrel. The squirrel spends most of its life on the evergreen trees, building its nest high up in the top canopy. Such a habitat protects the squirrel from many predators. Life under this thick canopy and dense vegetation is supported by quietly flowing streams. It is a paradise for birds and animals. Here, one can often get a glimpse of many rare species. One of them is the paradise flycatcher. Feeding here on insects. Such intimate relationships also exist between humans and the plant kingdom. The pods of entada are roasted and consumed. Its seeds are used in folk medicine. Neetum, another rare liana, is found in these sacred forests. Its seeds are eaten by the local people. The heterophragma tree, locally known as varas, is sacred. Its flowers are offered to the gods. Luxuriant vegetation and profusely flowering plants attract honeybees. The tribals of Bhimashankar have a novel way of detecting beehives. Honey collected from beehives is a source of food and income. Being isolated from modern medical facilities, the hill people depend on the medicinals found in the groves. The only surviving bivla tree, a wild cassia at the periphery of the grove. For the Mahadev Kolis of Bhimashankar, it provides important medicine for gum disorders. Root extracts of this tall herb, lobelia, is believed to cure eye infections. Lobelia is now a threatened species. Sacred groves are often located on the hill slopes from where perennial streams originate. In the monsoon, thick vegetation checks soil erosion by reducing the velocity of gushing rainwaters. It retains moisture and makes the soil fertile. But the scene is no longer so idyllic. Pressures on the sacred groves are increasing. Under the growing economic demands, both from the cities and villages, taboos and fears have ceased to exercise any influence. Today, the sacred groves are being exploited for fuel and charcoal. The foliage is cut and burned in paddy fields. the ashes used as fertilizer. Slowly but surely, the groves are shrinking. How do we protect these forests? Should we continue to believe in superstitions and myths? Or should we try to find the hidden message in those myths? Today, the ancient rituals are still celebrated with great zeal, but their purpose is lost. Let's rediscover that purpose. Let us re-establish our ties with nature, not based on mystical thought, but based on understanding of the living, nurturing relationship between man and nature.
Ai tu agazai pa